Federalist 41, Part 6. Here, Madison makes fun of some of the critics. He says they are criticizing us for these clauses in the Constitution, but when you listen and look closely, these clauses are very much like the clauses in the Articles of Confederation, which they like. So sometimes they just are not paying attention to what we have presented, and that's what makes their criticism shallow and not really reasonable. This is paragraph 23. Some who have not denied the necessity of the power of taxation have grounded a very fierce attack against the Constitution on the language in which it is defined. It has been urged and echoed that the power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises, to pay the debts, and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States, amounts to an unlimited commission to exercise every power which may be alleged to be necessary for the common defense or general welfare. No stronger proof could be given of the distress under which these writers labor for objections than their stooping to such a misconstruction. Had no other enumeration or definition of the powers of the Congress been found in the Constitution than the general expression just cited, the authors of the objection might have had some color for it, though it would have been difficult to find a reason for so awkward a form of describing an authority to legislate in all possible cases. A power to destroy the freedom of the press, the trial by jury, or even to regulate the course of descents or the forms of conveyances must be very singularly expressed by the terms to raise money for the general welfare. But what color can the objection have when a specification of the objects alluded to by these general terms immediately follows and is not even separated by a longer pause than a semicolon? If the different parts of the same instrument ought to be so expounded as to give meaning to every part which will bear it, shall one part of the same sentence be excluded altogether from a share in the meaning? And shall the more doubtful and indefinite terms be retained in their full extent, and the clearer and precise expressions be denied any signification whatsoever? For what purpose could the enumeration of particular powers be inserted, if these and all others were meant to be included in the preceding general power? Nothing is more natural nor common than first to use a general phrase and then to explain and qualify it by a recital of particulars. But the idea of an enumeration of particulars which neither explain nor qualify the general meaning and can have no other effect than to confound and mislead is an absurdity, which, as we are reduced to the dilemma of charging either on the authors of the objection or on the authors of the Constitution, we must take the liberty of supposing had not its origin with the latter. So all these criticisms that they're doing over a semicolon, or because we have changed the way we've written the sentence, when it exactly means the same, and they're still criticizing us. They're happy with the same thing when it's in the Articles of Confederation, but they're not happy with it when they see it in this new Constitution. So there must be something behind it. And that's why in Federalist 1, he says that some of these people in different states, because they will lose their position, their jobs, the money that comes to them, they will never want a union because they think there will not be any need for their jobs in the union under this new constitution. So in other words, they are being very realistic, are saying that we can see this happen because some of these people have for a generation or two been making money comfortably without too much work, and why wonder why they are unhappy with the new constitution. So it says we have to be realistic. And here's the last paragraph in Federalist 41. The objection here is the more extraordinary, as it appears that the language used by the convention is a copy from the Articles of Confederation. The object of the union among the states, as described in Article 3rd, are their common defense, security of their liberties, and mutual and general welfare. The terms of Article 8th are still more identical. All charges of war and all other expenses that shall be incurred for the common defense or general welfare and allowed by United States in Congress shall be defrayed out of a common treasury. A similar language again occurs in Article 9th. Construe either of these articles by the rules which would justify the construction put on the new Constitution, and they vest in the existing Congress a power to legislate in all cases whatsoever. But what would have been thought of that assembly if, attaching themselves to these general expressions and disregarding the specifications which ascertain the limits and limit their imports, they had exercised an unlimited power of providing for the common defense and general welfare? I appeal to the objectors themselves, whether they would in that case have employed the same reasoning in justification of Congress as they now make use of against the convention. How difficult it is for error to escape its own condemnation. So the anti-federalists are really not doing themselves and the nation a favor, because they have these superficial criticisms at times, and this tends to bring down the reasonableness of their argument. He says every once in a while they make a good argument, but it seems like they are not reading what we are writing clearly enough. Now, I've already told you we owe a lot to the anti-federalists for what is a very important part of the Constitution of the United States. That's the Bill of Rights. So here, as I read these papers to you, when I say something that the Federalists have said about anti-federalists and it sounds negative, I don't mean it that everything they did was negative. They actually put a lot of pressure on Madison and other founders that as soon as the first Congress sat, as soon as the first Congress opened in 1789, their first task would be to write a Bill of Rights. And it's extremely important. Make sure that you take advantage of these resources. C-SPAN, one of the best websites for you to learn the American civilization. libraryofcongress.gov, loc.gov, teachingamericanhistory.org, the National Constitution Center has many videos, National Archives. Then read the books by these authors if you can, and if you can't, watch their videos on YouTube, on C-SPAN, and other available videos. Carol Birkin, Woody Holton, Gordon Lloyd, Rosemary Zagari, Akila Marr, and Gordon Wood, Joseph Ellis, Jack Rakoff, Peter Onuf, and Pauline Mayer. Pauline Mayer, you've seen that. Let me pull this name up right there. So make sure you watch their videos, and as we go along and as you read along these Federalist Papers and watch some of these lectures and panel discussions, things make much more sense to you. On C-SPAN, they visit different classrooms. They have what they call lectures in history. You can find some good lectures there, but there are thousands and thousands of videos on Book TV, on American history, American writers, American presidents, history of the court. Yeah, tons of stuff available.